It's your choice, if you want to feel sorry for yourself or not, or figure out a way to get through. And that made me ashamed of the way I was behaving. And that thought was a critical, that was a turning point for me. That was a very pivotal moment, because at that moment, my whole perspective shifted 180 degrees. And all of that suffering that all of that suffering that I had been experiencing went away. And from that moment till I left, I didn't suffer anymore, even though my circumstances didn't change. I didn't have any more to eat. The weather wasn't any better. It changed because of the way that I saw the time that I had left there. I quit seeing it as days that I had to suffer through, and started seeing it as opportunities to set a good example for my sons to, enjoy the experience as best I could. And that shift, just that shift in perspective, was massive for me. And that's a lesson that, I kind of knew that. That's one of the teachings of Stoicism. But until you go through something like that, where it's kind of hammered into you, like, that's something that'll never leave me now. And I say it, perception is reality. We make our own reality, and that's a perfect example of it.
Yeah, I think you've got to really experience some sort of adversity, or whether it's a crisis or just you need to be outside your comfort zone and really experience some of that to actually break through and as cliche as it sounds, grow. I think there's a really touching moment in your book, I think, when you talk about taking your son on a hike, and he doesn't realize how far he's actually hiked, and I think you're up on the elevation looking back, and I think there's a conversation or something, and you just talk about like one step at a time, and it just shows you what you can and I think there's just some of that stitching through your story, and going through some of that adversity, the highs and the deep lows, but breaking through that, and then putting yourself into perspective, thinking about your family, and really living that with your family and your boys. It is really something.
Yeah.
So coming to the end of your time on alone, when the team arrived and the penny dropped that you had actually survived and you were the last man standing, how did that feel? What were your emotions?
Normally, when someone is the last one there, they will bring out one of their family members to sneak up behind them and tell them, like surprise them, tell them that they're the last one. Unfortunately, because of COVID and the travel restrictions, Liz wasn't able to come up there. And so it was the producer and one of the survival consultants who had broken the news to me. And it was a shock to me. And if you watch the show, if you watch that final episode, you can see that disbelief on my face, because one of the things that I'd written about in the book is that mental game that you play with yourself. Because on previous seasons, you can see some people just like completely break down when they hope too much that they're going to be the last ones, and when they're coming out for a med check or something, that you're hoping that that's going to be the time when they come to tell you that you've won and you're leaving. And so I just had it in my head that wasn't even a possibility. Like that they were never coming to tell me that I was the last one, because I didn't want to hope for that to be the case. Have them come out, do their med check, do all the stuff that they do, and then leave me out there, because that would have been had I been hoping that that was the time that they were going to come and tell me that I was the last one, and they didn't, that would have been absolutely crushing to me. And so I had like built up these mental walls against ever even considering that that was, could have been the case. And so when they did come to tell me, it was, I mean, I was literally in disbelief. Like, it didn't even make sense to me what they were saying. But when the survival consultant said, you're the last one, you've outlasted everyone, that's when it sunk in. I was like, holy shit.
Mm.
Like, I did it. I'm the last one. And it was a flood of like, I mean, I was crying and so happy.